Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm going to move this down because it's just not in my nature to sit. It seems to signal something in my brain that says stop talking and watch football. Thank you for bringing you. Let's start there. Because you came to get something today, and so you are just as much a part of this talk as I am. I prepare, and I'm pretty sure that that is the activity of keeping my humanness busy so that spirit can get in there and tell me what to actually say. Very often what I actually prepare isn't what comes out, so I attribute that to the power and the energy in the room because everybody's participating in this together. I absolutely believe in turning messes into messages. I am of the belief that none of us have ever done anything wrong. We've never made a bad decision. We've made decisions that had outcomes we didn't like, that other people didn't like. But given everything we had in the moment to work with, it was the decision that made the most sense. And if we can start there, the absence of guilt and shame, we can actually begin to heal. Because as long as it's over there, and I can't look at it and I can't embrace it, I can't heal it. So you are loved no matter what. That's who you are. That's what you are. And that's what we're going to talk about today. The topic for today is the way it works, pillars of study and education. And our values is the overall umbrella theme for the year for Centers for Spiritual Living. And so, in my mind, it makes sense to look at the value of education and study. Because if it has no value, why would we do it? Pretty sure we all have plenty of things to occupy our time. So I would invite you, if you aren't currently studying, to consider finding a context that challenges your current value of it. Because we do what we value. If you want to know what you value in your life, look at what you're doing in your life. That's what you value. We do not engage in activities we don't value. Even if the payoff is giving us something to gripe about, there's a value there. We don't necessarily relate to it as something that we value, but there's a payoff. Okay? There's where you want to know where your value is. Look at where your payoff is. Look at what you're getting from it. That's your value. Okay? So I want to start with, in the Science of Mind text, on page 36, in the chapter titled The Way It Works, oddly enough, isn't it? There is spirit, or this invisible cause, and nothing, out of which all things are to be made. Now spirit plus nothing leaves spirit. Now, interestingly enough, and this is the way Ernest Holmes worked, he studied everything he could get his hands on. That is straight out of Hellenic philosophy, Plotinus. That's where we first get this concept of reality simply is. And in something that is, there can be no nothing. So this whole concept of nothing's happening, surprise, just because we're disavowing knowledge of it or participation in it is no indication that that is accurate. It's still happening because it's impossible for it to not happen. There's no such thing as nothing. There is spirit. And so from that context, everything that it is has to be that. Because if that's all there is, this is spirit, your spirit, I'm spirit, and we get confused by the form because it looks like we're separate. And why is that? I think it's just simply a form of communication. I think it's how the divine communicates with itself. Because can you imagine if, just take a minute, you're the only person in your life that you ever get to talk to. I mean, even on the island, Wilson came about. because I don't want to just talk to me. I'll talk to a ball. Anything. Okay? And I suspect that's the same thing that's happening with spirit, the divine, God, whatever we call it. At some point, I want to interact with something else. So I create something else's. And as we all interact, I love what, I think it's Ram Dass that says we're all walking each other home. That our relationships, our interactions, are spirit remembering itself in, through, and as each one of us. That's really what's happening. That's really the way it works. And we have been endowed with this amazing thing called choice. So we don't have to participate at the level that spirit necessarily wants. We can say no. We can say, I refuse to acknowledge my divinity. I refuse to acknowledge your divinity. I refuse to participate at any other level other than, that's a book, that's a piece of paper, and that's just how it's going to be in my life. The problem is, that's not how it actually is. That's just how it is for me. One of my favorite Ernest Holmes quotes. Many of us believe that our thoughts create reality. This is not so. Thinking the world was flat never made the world flat. It simply made our experience of it flat. There's one reality, and that's spirit. Doesn't matter what we think about it, it doesn't change. We are the change in the changeless. Spirit is just that. Anybody in here never ridden a bicycle? Good. Riding a bicycle is one of the greatest examples of how to shift our thinking out of necessity. If in riding a bicycle or a motorcycle or anything for that matter, skates on your feet other than a steering wheel, you get what's called target vision. If you look at where you're going, you will wreck. If you look at a tree, you will run into the tree. We have to look ahead in order to stay balanced and in order to move the vehicle where it's supposed to go. Especially in a curve. If you look straight ahead in a curve, guess where you go? Straight ahead. Okay? How many times in life do we want to be over here and we keep looking over here, wondering why we're not getting over here? We keep crashing into the tree. It's because all we're doing is looking at the tree. And most of us deny that that's our experience. No, I'm not still doing the same thing. Really? Because I'm pretty sure if I keep showing up as me, I'm the common denominator. And I'll use myself. I mean, for years, I was what I refer to as a serial monogamist. I would just, relationship after relationship after relationship, and really confused about what was wrong with all of those people. And all of a sudden I was talking with a friend who was talking about his 4th divorce. He wasn't even talking about me, and he said, it took me 4 divorces to figure out I was the common denominator. I was like, oh, that. See, I am the common denominator in my life. I can blame you if I want. Won't make it true. Won't even relieve my pain. It will point me in the direction of the tree while I'm busy being confused that I didn't make the curve. And then I can be content in my confusion. And I can be a victim of my confusion. The key part to me, this whole chapter, the way it works, what kept jumping out is the word works. Most of us, if we're really being honest, don't want to work. We don't want to get up and go to work. We don't want to work in our house. We don't want to do the dishes. Where's the dish fairy, please? And I certainly don't want to work on my consciousness, which I don't understand and don't even believe I can change. Because I didn't create it, after all. Society raised me, parents raised me, isn't it their fault? If my wife would just straighten out, our marriage would be just fine. And I'm sure my wife says if Rafe would just get his stuff together, our marriage would be just fine. Well, the truth is, our marriage is wonderful. Let me not put that out there. Because I am taping this and she will watch it. Love you, baby. As long as we have that villain, victim, hero triangle happening, we are stuck. We're stuck. And that's the way we're working it. And that's the way it will work. Because whatever we put into consciousness is what consciousness puts out. Okay? Everybody remember silly putty? Okay? That is the thing that anchors me the most about what is actually happening, how this really works in consciousness. Okay? I put silly putty down on the newspaper and peel it off, and there it is. Okay? That's exactly what happens in consciousness. My consciousness, I impress it into the universe, and the universe goes, there it is. Here you go. It's just that simple. See? And on some level, even as I hear myself say that, the little part inside goes, are you sure it's not more complicated? Are you sure? Because see, if it was more complicated, I would have an excuse. Because when I run out of excuses, I'm responsible. I do a year-long intensive. It's a series of 5 classes. And the first time I rolled it out was 2015. And about the 3rd class, the students began to say, oh, you're about to say the R word again, aren't you? Responsibility became the R word. Worse than the F-bomb is the R word. Because, see, if I am solely responsible for my life, then I have to work it. It means I have to take responsibility for my consciousness. It means I have to sit down and open a book and study. It means I have to be vulnerable to say, I don't know what this means. Do you? And to listen to a new idea. I have to take and look at everything on the blackboard of my life and begin to question, is it true? I'm a member of many 12-step fellowships. 34 years clean and sober, thank God. And believe me, you're way happier about that than I am. It's just true. Oh, goodness. One of the things in 12-step recovery, in Narcotics Anonymous, in the book, it says straight out, being willing to be open-minded means being willing to entertain the notion that everything I know could be wrong, especially what I know about the truth. Yeah, because how many of us live in that, no, this is true? And I would suggest that if you have that much attachment to your position, there may be a reason for that. Because when it's really true, we don't have to defend it. We don't have to protect it. None of us stand outside, and when somebody walks by and looks up at the sun, we don't stop them and go, it's where it's supposed to be. We don't do that. We don't defend the sun. We don't defend the rain. We don't defend the moon. We don't stand out in our yard and justify why the stars are where they are. So if you have a position, you might want to take a look at what you're protecting. Because the truth doesn't need protection. The truth just is. It just is. North is north. I have yet, in 57 years of life, 3 college degrees, I've never heard an argument about where north is. Never. Even scientists don't argue about that, and they argue about everything. North is north. It's true. We don't need to debate it. How do you know that God is really in you? How do you know that Spirit is really in you? Go back to the beginning, because there's only one thing. They can't, science explains a lot, but we still can't explain what happened before the Big Bang. We can explain how what we are experiencing started and where it started, but where did it come from? Because you can't get something out of nothing. And that was Plotinus' whole thing. Reality just is. And the cool part is, something that has no beginning, and this gets me excited, folks, if it has no beginning, it can't have an end. Now I got goosebumps. It can't have an end. And if it always has been, if it just is, and the Big Bang came out of it, and we came out of the Big Bang, where do you think we came from? It.
Whatever it is.
Whatever it is. That's what we're made of. Mary Morrissey tells a joke, and I'll probably slaughter this, but it's like this angel who's really wanting to challenge God on creation. That, I can create. And many of us think we do too. We don't. Follow this. I can create just like you. God's like, really? Okay. God creates. There's a human. The angel's like, that's all you got? I'll create a whole world. He reaches down, and God's like, get your own substance. Everything is created out of source. That's where we originate from. So everything in us is that. We don't have to go get it. Rumi says this: language, silence is the language of God. All else is poor translation. Where do you find God? In the silence. What is our work to do? Unravel the meanings that we have assigned against it. So we don't have to create God. We just have to see what's already here. My job is to look you in the eye and know that I'm looking at God. And to open my eyes enough to let you see God right here. Will we do that? will we do that work? Because that's how it works. And if I want a smoke screen, I can do that. See, if I don't want you to see who I am, or I don't want to see who I am, I can do that. And I want to be really careful with the want to, because a lot of times it's that we don't even know it's there. It's easy to stand back and go, well, they just want to be that way. Really? Really? When you're hurting, do you want to hurt? No. You know, when we have those experiences where we're looking back going, oh, God, what was I thinking? None of us go, well, I wanted to do that. But when I'm looking at your mistakes, well, clearly you wanted to. See, we have this double standard. How it works, I look at me. And then I look at you through what I'm learning about me. That's the oneness. I cannot see in you what I will not see in me. And so if I think you're a jerk, well, what did I just see in me? See, that's the opening that, you know, if I think you're a bigot, guess what? I'm having bigoted thoughts against the bigot. My issue is bigotry, but it's still bigotry. Okay? If I hate you because you use hate speech, we're both still hating. We don't want to look at it that way. We have this special spiritual category called self-righteous indignation. And that's where all the things that I want to do and have you not challenge live. How does it work? I have to look at those. I have to look at those. And the way I see those is by how I treat you. What do I tell myself about you? It's the best mirror I've ever had. It's not how you treat me. How do I treat you? Am I forgiving? Do I realize that ultimately there's nothing to forgive? If I'm standing in that, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I know I have done it, and I'm pretty sure sometime I will do it again, where I'm doing the best I can. And I'll tell you, you know, when I like do something that really screws up your life, I was doing the best I could. But let you do something. And I got a whole encyclopedia of should book. And I'm going to tell you how you should have done it, how you needed to have done it, and why you messed up my life by not studying your should book. So I'm doing the best I can. Really? Can I let you do the best you can? Can I let your best be perfect? Can I get out of the way of your outcome and stop making it mine? Can I really work this stuff? Can I get clear what's in my consciousness? Because that's what I'm creating. See, it doesn't matter if I use your behavior to create my stuff, it's still my stuff. Blaming you doesn't change that. How do I learn all this stuff? I study. I study and I study. One of the beautiful things about science of mind is we study. And we give each other permission to not know. You know, one of the coolest things that I have gotten in recovery and taken into ministerial school, and I'm going to continue it in my ministry, I don't know. I'm okay with that. We talk about living in the mystery. Well, if I know everything, where's the mystery? See, if I'm really comfortable in the mystery, I don't don't know is an invitation to be informed. It's an invitation to how it works. Am I willing to not know? And the way this all snowballs, see, the minute I say, I don't know, but I got a host of people that show up back here going, what do you mean you don't know? I taught you to know. You're supposed to know. You've been in school. You've got 3 degrees. You're supposed to know. Everything goes off back there. Well, now, I have some work to do. Whose voices are those? Why am I giving them rent-free residence in my being? And how do I get them out? I don't remember moving you in. How do I get you out? Where was the U-Haul when I wasn't looking? Because it brought a bus. Everybody I've ever experienced in my life lives in my experience. Now here's the good news and the bad news, as Rafe sees it. They're never going anywhere. They're never leaving. Okay? That's how Fall in Love with Fear came about. They're never going anywhere. So my best bet, my best option is to make friends with them. To find out what they're here to teach me. What gift are you packaging? That's how it works. That's the way it works. What's in my consciousness that I don't want to look at? We cannot heal what we refuse to feel. And I can tell myself all day long, change my thinking. And it does start with our thinking. But if you have no passion attached to that thought, you haven't changed anything other than the wrapping paper. I can change my language. That's not my thought. That's my language. Most of our conversation about thoughts is language about thoughts. We think about our thoughts, but we don't ever get to our thought. We'll talk around it. We'll talk about it. When do we own it? When do we go to that vulnerable place that says, this is what I really thought, or this is what I really think? And to go there without guilt, shame, or blame. Because the minute we have guilt, shame, or blame, we're not in the thought now, we're in a different thought. Guilt, shame, and blame is its own thought. We're born with a blank slate, and everybody starts writing on it before we even know what writing is. And there's generational writing. We are born into consciousness that already exists. Some of it is just there. It's still ours. It's really how karma works. Karma's not something you did wrong in a previous lifetime. It's generational beliefs that are moving forward. And how can we work with them? If it's mine to heal, I'm healing it for all. And for me, that's where responsibility got real. When I realized that what is mine to heal, I'm healing for you and for me, because there's only one consciousness. We're all playing the same thing. I'm not just healing for me. I'm an individualized representation. What I heal for me, I heal for everybody. What you heal for you, you heal for everybody. What a gift. What an amazing gift. And if we were just standing Had ministerial school yesterday, and it was with Reverend Andriette Earl, if any of you know her. Amazingly powerful. And the class that we had this weekend was homiletics, minister as speaker, doing this. And Friday night and all day Saturday, it was open the book, go to this section, find something that resonates with you. You got 10 minutes to prepare a 5-minute power talk. Go. Right? Now, lots of things happen. All of the stuff that we're talking about, the conversation's just going crazy about, I'm not going to do this. Yes, you do. No, I don't. And in the meantime, I'm like, I just lost 3 minutes. Shut up. Read already. I don't know what to read. You know, I mean, it just, everything goes just nuts. And in the middle of all this kept coming Willy Wonka. Really? Now? And all I could hear was the beginning of the song from Willy Wonka. I didn't even know what the song was. So I grabbed out my phone and Googled Willy Wonka song. And this is how Spirit works if we're open. Check this out in terms of how it works. Come with me, and you'll be in a world of pure imagination. Take a look, and you'll see into your imagination. We'll begin with a spin, traveling in the world of my creation. What we'll see will defy explanation. If you want to view paradise, simply look around and view it. Yeah, right? That's what I was like. Okay. Anything you want to do, do it. Want the world to change? This is where it just floored me. There's nothing to it. There is no life I know to compare with pure imagination. Living there, you'll be free if you wish to be. Wow. That's how it works, folks. That's how it works. Are you ready to step into your imagination? The Bible says, lest we become as little children, we cannot enter the kingdom of heaven. What we know in religious science is that that is a metaphor for consciousness. Will we become as little children in our pure imagination to enter the kingdom of heaven as our consciousness, as our Christ within? So that's what I'm tossing out as the question. Not about what's bugging you. Go to your imagination for just a minute. What can you imagine when you think about changing the world? What world do you want? Imagine it. Verbalize it. Let's create it. There's nothing to it. As I breathe, I recognize that life is breathing me. That the air that binds us together is the very breath that I breathe. And it is the breath that all life is breathing. One breath, one life, one source. Infinite, ever present. And by infinite and ever present, I mean it has no beginning. It is now. And because it has no beginning, it can have no end. It simply is. Always was, always will be. That singular source of the activity of creation. Creation as an activity rather than an event, an ongoing process. This is what reality is. And within that is all love, all clarity, all energy, perfect purpose, pure imagination. Pure imagination. Imagining this incredible experience that we know as humanity with all of its trappings. Pure imagination as the cosmos that it holds together. Pure imagination as gravity. Pure imagination as the most amazing experiences we've ever had, and more to come. That is my life. It is the life of all life, because it is all there is. And because we are created out of it, by it, we must be it in form. And so realizing that, I speak my word from that place of realization, of certainty, of stating with absolute clarity, conviction, and confidence that we each are where God shows up. And God shows up as confidence, as infinite energy to do everything that brings its heart joy. That God shows up as acceptance and peace. That God shows up as comfort with its own thoughts. Courage in creativity with wild abandonment to simply create without any judgment from that place of pure imagination that brings about joy and elation to the world, because it is God expressing as God. It can't be any other way. It can't be any other way. Whether it's music or art, or whether it is simply sitting on the couch enjoying the air we breathe. God is all there is, so all there is God. No longer willing to be fooled by the appearance of separation, no longer willing to be fooled by the noisiness of the brain. We stand in the heart, in the truth of beingness. We say yes to being all that we came here to be, and yes to inviting and allowing everyone else the same amazing trip, the same freedom, with kindness and joy and respect, one community, healing from inner cities to outer cities, and from outer cities to inner cities, healing in the rural areas, and in every corner of the universe, caring for our planet, caring for our atmosphere, caring for one another. In the conversation, to understand rather than to change. As I know another more deeply, I know myself more deeply. And as I become vulnerable and allow others to see me more deeply, I allow them to know themselves more deeply. This is the yes of my soul. And as I say that, I feel the gratitude well up inside me. Grateful that I get to say yes. Not that I have to, because I don't. Grateful that I get to. That I get to be everything that God made me to be as itself, as Rafe. And I so in this gratitude that I joyfully release my word into that activity of law, which is exactly how it works. It can only work. It has no. And so as it formed the words in my mind and spoke them with my voice, it said yes to itself. So it's already done. So I release it. I let it go. And I get out of the way with expectation to see